In this episode of Akram Studios, I'm going to share with you my autumn 2017 sewing plan, so stay tuned! Hello and welcome. I'm Akram Tagavi Burris, and you're watching Akram's Ideas, bringing creative and crazy ideas to life. It is that time once again for another On the Sewing Table episode of Akram's Ideas, where I share with you my autumn 2017 sewing plans. Now, I am really excited about my autumn plans. I have big ambitions for my sewing plans, and I'm hoping to get them all done. I have some easier projects lined up, so we shall see how it goes. Now, usually how I kind of organize my plans or come up with my plans is I find patterns that I want to make and I go from there. But what I found is that I tend to always sew in bright colors, so more spring and summer tones. And while autumn is actually one of my favorite seasons, I don't have a lot of muted browns, oranges, and even darker green tones in my wardrobe. So this time around, when I was trying to think about my autumn plans, I actually chose fabric, and in my stash, I went through my stash and found all these fabrics that actually felt like autumn and had those autumn tones. And then from there, I picked a pattern to kind of go with the fabric. And I don't necessarily have a pattern chosen for each of the fabrics that I've picked out here, but I have an idea of kind of what I want to make with each of these. So I'm going to go in the order of kind of what I know I'm going to make to what I want to make something, but I'm not really sure. So that's kind of how I'm going to share with you all my mini autumn plans. Now, while these projects are all part of my autumn plans, I don't necessarily have a specific order of how I'm making them. Some are just going to be made quicker than others. It's just because they're easier projects. But the first few fabrics that I have here, and these all came from my stash, so I have no idea when or where I got them. But the first ones that I'm going to be doing is a series of novelty print gathered skirts, because I had some really cool novelty prints in my stash, and I've actually just completed one of the gathered skirts, and it's this beautiful print that has lovely birdhouses on it. It's still a very bright colored fabric, but it does have those autumnal tones to it, so they're a little bit more muted, and it's just a basic gathered skirt with an elastic waist and side seam pockets with a contrasting fabric. And that's basically my plan for each one of the following fabrics. So the other one that I have here, which I actually have quite a bit, so it might end up being a top as well, is this fabric here, which is Christopher Columbus fabric. It has the ships on it, it has Columbus, and it says on it 1492 Discovery, and then it also says 1992, so it must have been an anniversary of type fabrics. It's got a little American flags on it and everything, and it's just really cool. My birthday is October 13th, and the year I was born, I was actually born on Columbus Day. So I always have enjoyed Columbus Day just because it's close to my birthday. I really want to make this the gathered skirt to wear for Columbus Day. The next gathered skirt that I have planned is this beautiful pumpkin print. Yes, I love it. And this one, I believe it actually still has the salvage and says what it is. and it is the Mums the World by Debbie Mums. And this again is this beautiful black print that has these little pumpkins all over it. It's very Halloweeny without being Halloweeny, so I think I could wear it throughout autumn. I could get some more wear out of it because it doesn't have like ghost or anything on it. But my idea is to make a gathered skirt from this, and I have this beautiful pumpkin spice colored cardigan, a vintage cardigan from the 60s that I bought on eBay. I think I bought it 2 years ago now, and I think it would look beautiful wearing with this. So those are my gathered skirt projects. While we're on the topic of skirts, I thought I would share some more skirt projects that I have planned. Now, I told you in my summer makes video that I recently made Simplicity 8019, which is a reproduction pattern of a 1970s button-down skirt. And I love that skirt so much, I want to make more. So I have in my stash this wonderful like linen fabric of an olive green, and I think it's showing up really bright on camera, but it's a little bit more muted, and I think this would look really good to wear with oranges and browns, and I just love it, and I'm really excited because you can play with buttons on this, and I've got a ton of buttons that would look good with this fabric. So that is one of those skirts. And then the next one is this lovely tan corduroy that I have in my stash, and it's really soft corduroy too. And again, I think it would look lovely as that skirt. I also mentioned in my summer plans that I'm making a tutorial video where I'm going to show you how to add embellishments, including side seam pockets and belt loops to that pattern, which is actually really, really easy. So I'm going to be making the tutorial with one of these two fabrics, so you'll see them in a later video. Another one of my autumn plans is a pattern that has been on my cutting table for 2 years now. I actually cut it out in 2015, and then once I cut it out, I still needed a lining fabric and how to order it, and it took some time. And by that time, it had actually turned springtime, so I didn't really need an autumn coat. And eventually we moved in 2016, and so it got lost in the move. It was packed up in a box, and I finally have dug it up, and I want to finish it. There's a lot of pieces to it, but it's not a relatively difficult pattern, and I really like my plan for this coat, so I'm hoping to knock it out soon. It's not going to be like a winter coat heavy, but it is going to be perfect for autumn. So my goal is to get it done before November or around November so I could wear it then. For the coat itself, I'm actually using a vintage reproduction pattern. I'm using Vintage Vogue 1083, and on the cover it has sort of this camel colored coat, and I fell in love with the look of that. So I actually had won in a contest about 2 years ago, going on 3 years now, several yards of this beautiful camel colored fleece from yourfleece.com, and it is super soft, it's really nice, and that is going to be my outer layer. It's not extremely heavy. I am putting a inner lining of fleece interfacing on the inside of this just to add a little bit more warmth to it. But what is really exciting about this project is the lining that I chose. And if you watch Abby from the Crafty Pinup, she mentioned the other day that leopard print is a neutral. And I have this sort of satiny leopard print fabric that I'm going to be using for the lining of this coat. And I think it's just going to be beautiful. I think it's just going to work amazingly well together. I had to order the lining because I didn't have as much as I needed. I needed like 4 yards or something for this coat. So it's going to be a relatively long coat, and nice big pockets, and big button on the front. So like I said, I'm really excited. I've got all the coat pieces cut out and even part of it sewn together. So I just gotta take a time to knock this project out. So next I'm going to show you some fabrics that I don't have a specific pattern for, but I kind of know what I want to do with them. So the first ones are some cotton fabrics here. And basically, again, I'm trying to choose autumn colors. And I've got this one fabric here that is a tan fabric that has these little bouquets of green flowers, like green and darker tan flowers, and this little row of black flowers, creating this stripe all the way down it. Now, I don't have a lot of this fabric. It's just over a yard, maybe a yard and a quarter or so. I really want to make some sort of button-down shirt, but I don't know if that's practical with the amount that I have. The next one is this beautiful brown tone with these oranges and lemons and daisies. It could be considered summery, but with the brown and oranges, I just think it looks more autumny to me. And again, I want to make a button-down shirt with this. And I really like the idea of doing something with a Peter Pan collar on this one. Again, I'm not really sure what pattern I want to use for this. I have slightly more than the other fabric, but it's still under 2 yards. So I'm hoping I can get out enough for a button-down shirt. At the very least, something with maybe short sleeves that I can wear with a cardigan. Continuing on with the autumn tones is I have some of this lovely satiny, silky fabric. I have some of this gold here, and I have some of this blue here. And both of these, I don't have very much, maybe a yard of the blue, maybe 2 yards of the gold. But what I really would like to make is some sort of silk cami type top. Now, I really love the silk cami from Sew Over It, but I do not have that pattern. I'm like, what do I have in my stash? And as it so happens, I actually came across this 1970s pattern. It is a McCalls 5854, and it is a pattern for this dress. And this particular sleeveless pullover dress, if you look carefully, it has the same collar and the same lines as the silk cami. And I'm thinking that I'll be able to maybe just trace it out and cut it at the waistline and use this as the cami top. Maybe a little lower, maybe at the hip line, so it's a little longer. But that's my plan. Since I already have this pattern and ready and available to me, I'm going to try it out. I still probably will end up getting the Sew Over It pattern, but I'm just wanting to use what I have in my stash. Now, as you may know, I have been on a jersey sewing kick. In fact, I'm wearing one of my Tilly and the Buttons Agnes tops right now. This is like one of my favorite tops. And I went through my stash to find any kind of stretch fabric that I have that would look good as a jersey type top. Now, I have a couple of fabrics that aren't necessarily jersey, but they have a lot of stretch to them. There's some sort of polyester mix. And the first one is this beautiful print here. It's got like plums and limes, I think, and grapes. It just looks very Italian kitchen to me. And like I said, it's a polyester with some stretch to it. And I don't have very much. So I'm thinking some sort of top is what I want to make with it. Not necessarily an Agnes top, because I think this needs a simpler design. Maybe something that has kimono sleeves or something like that. Something more blouse-like for that top. And the same goes for the next fabric, something more blouse-like, but this one also has a lot of stretch to it. I don't have a whole lot of this, but it would be nice to do some sort of wrap top or something. It's got this interesting diamond-shaped pattern on it with orange and yellow and gray tones. It's kind of modern looking, but at the same time, it kind of gives a little late 60s, early 70s vibe to it. And I think the colors work really, really well in the autumn. Next fabric is another jersey polyester type fabric. It's got a lot of stretch to it. And it's got, again, these wonderful green tones to it and these brown roses. I thought this would look really good as a gable top. And I think it would just be perfect for that. I don't know exactly how much I have. I feel like I have more than enough for a gable top, that if I have enough left over, I want to make a separate skirt of some kind, like a pullover skirt, a circle skirt. And I don't want to make a gable dress because I want to be able to wear the top with various skirts. And I also think it would look really, really good with jeans. So I'm going to make the gable top, and then if I have more left over, maybe some sort of circle skirt or just an A-line skirt with that. So the last few things that I want to mention are patterns I would like to make this autumn, but I don't necessarily know what fabric to make them out of. Now, one of the first patterns that I plan to make is Vintage Simplicity 5610. And if you recall from one of my last videos, I did a vintage pattern haul. And in that video, I asked you guys what pattern I should make next. And I got a couple of responses. However, everybody chose a different pattern. And while I eventually will plan to make all of those patterns, 5610 was suggested because of the A-line skirt. And the person who suggested it also said something about making it in wool. And I think that would look really, really nice. This pattern also includes the blouse top, so I had showed some fabric that I want to make some button down tops with, and this might work for those fabrics. Now, another pattern that I've been wanting to make is McCalls 6795. And this is a special pattern. I specifically bought this pattern because my plan is to dress up as Rachel Tyrell, the replicant from the original Blade Runner movie. It's got basically these really puffy sleeves, and then it's got sort of a mandarin collar, and it is very close on the top part and kind of fans out just ever so slightly, sort of to a peplum, to set right above the pencil skirt. I scoured the internet for patterns that looked anything resembling that suit, and the closest thing I came across was this pattern, McCalls 6795, which is out of print, but I managed to find a copy on Amazon. And it's for a blouse pattern, but the blouse pattern itself has very similar lines to the suit jacket. So my plan is to go ahead and to attempt to make the blouse and make it out of a suiting jacket, maybe make it a little bit bigger so that it can go over a tank or something like that to be more suit-like. I will have to do some changes to the pattern. The pattern has a back yoke, which the original suit does not have, so I think I'll just stitch those two pieces together and just make a single back piece. There's obviously cuffs on the sleeves, which I won't need, and the collar has sort of a rounded collar, and then it has this tie front. The original suit in the film has sort of a mandarin collar that comes to the tie front. So the tie front is actually part of the collar. I might play around to see if I can't figure that out. Otherwise, I might make it as is and then just add the little tie bit to it, because it gives it that effect that the suit in the film has. But I'm kind of leery about doing this project. I don't think it will be very difficult to make the blouse. I think just getting it to look like I want is going to be the difficult part. Some other patterns that I know that I will be making is the chestnut sweater from Kokowaka Crafts. The lovely Anna from Kokowaka Crafts just released the new chestnut sweater, and it is this beautiful sweater that has this lovely bow detail, ribbon bow detail in the back that I just love. It looks so fun and cozy, and those are the kind of things that I just love wearing on the weekends, and it's curling up somewhere. And I think it would actually also look really, really good with some of my skirts that I'm making. And I'm also thinking, as if I don't have enough projects right now, I'm also thinking about joining the Cozy Cardi challenge. And I downloaded the In the Folds slouchy cardigan. And the slouchy cardi I think would be perfect because it's just kind of loose fitting. It's just something to pull over. And I have some knit gray fabric. It doesn't have a lot of stretch to it, and it's a very stiff jersey, but since I'm making sort of this oversized cardi, I think that it might work. I'm just hoping it's cozy enough to wear. So that's another pattern on my autumn plans for the Cozy Cardi Challenge. And that challenge is actually being hosted by Amanda from I Sew A Lot and the Stitching Sisters. And you can get more details, I believe, on their YouTube channels and on Instagram. And I'll put the links to all the patterns that I mentioned and the challenges that I mentioned in the video in the comments below. And that's pretty much all my autumn sewing plans, so there is quite a lot there. I would really love to know in the comments below if you have any suggestions for patterns for any of the fabrics that I showed in the video, because like I said, I don't have set plans for anything right at the moment. I'd also love to hear what you've got on your sewing table for autumn 2017. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Akram's Ideas, and if you did, be sure to give us a big thumbs up. Don't forget to follow Akram's Ideas on social media and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching!